that also reminds me of another core piece of your work that you do at Soul is you really work to revitalize people's connection to nature because in my opinion, it's kind of like the ultimate grief, collective grief that we have that we feel disconnected from it. Can you share a little bit more about how that relates to our understanding of death and grief?
Well, I mean, I really think that isolating ourselves from death and grief was one of the ways, or maybe becoming unnatural was one of the prices we had to pay for being able to resist death and grief. Okay. So nature requires us to acknowledge moving forces. It's why we feel so good when we're in it, because we kind of get entrained in that whole movement of trees and sap and bird song and everything. Um, but it kind of requires us to acknowledge that things are cyclical, right? And if things are cyclical, then we've got to accept that they reverse direction and they pulsate, and that there's a decline, just like there is, growth and decline and in the physical parts. And we're reminded of our mortality the minute we go into nature.
Mm.
And so I think the resistance to nature, the control of nature, and the control of death and dying and birth and all of that go hand in glove,
That,
honestly. And
that
maybe
makes a
even
lot of
control of
sense.
other populations and things we're uncomfortable with.
It's like if you, so, to deny ourselves that, like you said, it's like a price we have to pay. We're not part of nature, but then we can be over it and not have to look at this death thing and not have to look at the ways that we might also too be subject to the very organic nature of our being.
Exactly.
And then that becomes the breeding ground for a real, I don't, to me, it feels like there's like a chronic grief that comes with that disconnection from who we are at our core.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think it's a real fundamental grief.
Yeah.
And so I kind of gave it a name, I call it the essential relationship, the relationship we have with that whole pulsing life force that is the earth and the earth's magnetic field. And we're all being entrained by the animals, the trees. And it's really primal to our being. It's our first language, really, our mother's heartbeat.